Welcome. That's enough of that. You know, I got to admit, I'm one of the biggest critics of countdown timers, but I see now why people do them, because you're kind of getting, especially when you got a group of people, we're trying to get things set up. But I can only take so much of that. I don't know about you guys, but that was long enough for me. Welcome, everybody. I don't know. I haven't changed over to the comments section. I do know. First, I want to acknowledge that. Oh, my goodness. Well, you got to acknowledge first is first. Chaos, what's up? Glad to see you there. And is that Old Poe or Mr. Poe in the chat? So we got Mr. Poe style, we got Arcade Chaos, and we got Jay Houston. So I want to give a shout out to the first people to show up in the chat. But the big thing I want to talk about is look who I got here tonight. I've got some big time celebrities. First of all, Digital Victory. Where the hell's he? He's over here. I can't never do that.
This is always the fun part, trying to figure out which way to point.
Yeah, what are they? I know Retro always wants me to. He wants me to do this sometimes. He says, "I want to be on that side of the screen." But anyway, we've got Digital Victory with us tonight. I told you that I was going to have some special guests. Digital Victory is, I'm not going to try to gush it up too much, but I'm telling you what. If you don't watch his channel, you should, because I'm telling you, it's not just the fact that he has the pinball and he's going to tell us a little bit about his games, but he knows how to play the games. I'll tell you what, see, my style of playing pinball is put the quarter in, let the ball fly, and hit it a whole bunch of times. But Digital Victory, he knows the rule sets. He can talk to you about a game, how to play it, how to score better, and how to play it well. I don't know. We'll see. Y'all be your own judge. And I see the wonderful Kelly Huff is here. I want to say hello to Kelly. So she's in the chat. So I think she knows one of our hosts that's here this evening. So I think they're pretty good friends. So
she usually doesn't admit to it though.
Yeah, and then of course my other guest this evening is Off Grid Arcade. We have another guest that's on his way. I'll leave that for a surprise for him to reveal some information. So I didn't want to start late, so we went ahead and started. So I'm hoping he'll get in here pretty quick. But Retro and I both have no, not Retro. There, I said it. I'm stupid. Off Grid and I both have V-pins that we built. And I get a lot of questions about building them, and I've tried to answer those in a few of my videos. But there's a certain amount of time, talent, expertise, whatever. You got to have some carpentry skills. Yeah, money, right? Money. And it's a lot to put together. Now, that's one thing that Digital Victory's got is I've noticed when I started watching his channel, he's playing stock games that come on At Games Legends pinball. But he's also able to play well, I'll let him tell you what he's able to play on it. I'm going to give the floor over to him, but I kind of wanted to give you some idea of what it's like, because our next guest that's coming on after these guys just got one of these things, and we're just going to do some talk about it. So Digital Victory, I'm going to let you have the floor. I'll sit and watch the chat. If you got any questions, throw them my way, and I'll make sure Digital Victory gets them. So I'm turning over to you, Digital Victory, and give us a little lowdown of what you got.
Hey, I appreciate it, G.Parker. And hello, everybody in the chat. Good to see you guys. Just quick background on me from a pinball perspective. As a kid growing up in Tucson, would sneak off to the local laundry room, and there was a local or laundromat, and there was a local hotel that had a little side laundromat that had pinball machines. And my sister would run off there, and we'd play, Sky Jump, some of the real old Ding Ding games, as coined by Mrs. Parker. Love those old games, the EM tables. And later, kind of fell out of touch with pinball like a lot of us. And then as I got into PCs and PC gaming, kind of picked up on the growing hobby of virtual pinball. And, in its infancy, it was really primitive, as you know. And I started off with the old Atari 800, had pinball construction set from EA back in the day. And
nice.
Again, later, it just expanded to it actually started with the CoinOps video game system. They had a segment of all the, your arcade games and your Sega, and lo and behold, they had a virtual pinball segment. So I fired that up, and oh man, it's like the memories came flooding back, and I ended up getting Pinball Arcade on the PlayStation 3 and all that, and really getting into it. And I used to look on the internet and drool over these virtual pinball machines that I started seeing pop up, and they were so expensive though, it was kind of out of the question. And then the Legends pinball showed up, and that was an offshoot of the Legends Ultimate Arcade first, because I did get the arcade console, and then when they started advertising their pinball, boy, my eyes popped wide open. I was like, oh, this is so cool. And immediately put down the money. As soon as they asked for a deposit, I did it, reserved my system. It showed up, knock on wood, it's worked fine since I got it. And, it came with all the tables that it came with, the 22 Gottlieb tables. I played them and they were kind of fun, but frankly, I like the virtual pinball systems on the PS3 and the PS2 better. But, it was cool. It was a stand-up pinball machine. And then all the Zachariah tables came out. And then I learned about OTG. And I was scared to death of OTG on my Legends stand-up arcade machine. I didn't know what the hell it was or how it worked. And this is just too much. But the pinball intrigued me so much that I started studying and bought a gaming PC from Best Buy, hooked it up, didn't work, tried different USB cables, and finally learned that mine would only work with a very short USB, 18 inches. All right, that's why my computer is so close to it. But I got it all working.
Let me just jump in and remind people, because I find I do this sometimes. When he's referring to OTG, that's a program within the At Games product, and I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's for on the go. I think it is. So it's so you can bring external device such as a PC to your Legends product. Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to clarify that.
That's exactly where I was. I had no idea what it meant or how it worked, but apparently you can hook up a PC to it, and the Legends Pinball is just a dumb system with 2 monitors and the buttons, and they all work with the computer as the engine behind it all. And all the pointy-headed guys and the people a lot smarter than me figured out how to do it. And there's amazing virtual pinball systems out there now. Your VPX, Future Pinball, of course, all the FX tables that I all had on Steam on my PC back in the other part of the house before I ever got into this. But they made it all work on the system, and it was a blast. It was a whole new world to me, and I still played a lot of the tables that came with it. Okay, some of the tables came with it, and maybe not a lot. But frankly, these virtual pinball tables that other people make are, to me, more fun than the tables that come with it. I know that the Steam tables, the FX3, those are amazing. I'm a sucker for all the special effects that they have. Instead of just static toys on the table, you got Spider-Man swinging across or Indiana Jones swinging across, and all the Marvel tables have the characters doing things on the table. So I love that. And I'm like you, Greg. Back in the day, I was just keep the ball alive, just play the game and keep the ball alive. And wow, this is fun. But then when I would see scores that other people would get, I'm like, how the hell are they scoring so many points? So I stumbled across a forum post about a table's rules. I was like, rules? What does that mean? And every table has its own set of rules. And I'm sure, any of you who play pinball know this by now. But it was a revelation to me. And I started studying, and man, my scores just shot through the roof. And if you ever watch my videos, I'm not that good of a player. I'm old enough where my hands just don't react quick enough as my eyes. But at least I know the rules. And I know what I'm trying to do. Whether I execute it or not, that's a whole different matter. But since a lot of people don't know about the rules and how to score well, I thought it might be a fun kind of avenue in the channel to make one about tutorials on how to do it. Because I looked up tutorials, and there are tutorials online. You can look at a Pinball Machines tutorials for any game, and lo and behold, a guy will sit there and play. But some of those are literally hours long, and it's a guy and his buddy playing this table, and they're talking about it while they play. And sure enough, they're doing a tutorial, but I don't have 2 hours to sit and watch a guy to learn how to do it. So I thought it'd be fun to make a channel with concise rules of different tables and promote all the really cool tables that the Legends comes with and all the really cool OTG tables you can play on it. And occasionally I talk a little bit about the hardware side of things, although I say all the time, I am not a techie. I'm not techie, and if I can figure this out, anybody can figure it out. Because a lot of people shy away from it because it seems complicated, but it really isn't that complicated.
Right. You mentioned a couple things. Well, first, let me jump in. Off grid. You got any thoughts or any questions so far on our thoughts as to what you think of the Legends product versus the home built? I mean, not that I'm showing any preference one way or the other, but anyway, I'm just going to give you the floor for a minute there. I've kind of been sitting there taking this all in.
Yeah, no, I don't really have much experience other than I have the Legends Gamer Pro, and I play arcade games on it. And I know it comes with the buttons on the sides, but I haven't ever played pinball on it because I do have my home built table, and it's literally one's right here and the other's right there. Why would I play here when I can play there, kind of thing? So I've never really messed with it. So I'm really curious. I was looking forward to this when G.Parker said that you were going to be on, and Retro. I know Retro Arcade Music Man has just got one, and he's still working on it. I was really interested to see and what it all is more about, because I don't really have a whole lot of experience, but I can just talk, like you said, about the learning the rules of pinball. I used to be the same way, where it was just, like G.Parker said, and like you said, just keep the ball alive as long as you can. This is fun. Hit the flippers and make the ball go up. But until I bought my first pinball machine, I bought a pinball machine a bunch of years ago, and
that was a real.
I got that. It was an actual physical table.
What table? What table?
Jokers. The Joker with the Z.
With the Z?
Yeah, with the Z. Still have the back glass. If you're watching any of my pinball videos, my back glass is right behind me because the table got fried, but the back glass I kept. And it's a good one to start with because there aren't a whole lot of rules. So it was easy to learn the rules. It was like, oh, wait, I can do this and this and this, and I'll get points, or why is it suddenly telling me this? Oh, wait, there are things to learn in pinball. So like you said, it changes the whole game when you realize, even if you're playing a complex game and you're like, I don't even know the rules, but I know that one and I can go for that. I know I can get 10 million points every time. If I hit that target 3 times, I'm going to get 10 million points. That's what I'm aiming for. So that makes a big difference. But
I kept it pretty simple. If I see stand-up targets, I hit them. See target, hit target. Okay, those are easy. You knock down a row of stand-up targets, and or if a particular lane is flashing, hey, I'm going to hit it there. And a lot of modern tables are really good at bringing you along too, and kind of coaching you. Hit this lane. I just did a tutorial on Terminator 3, and man, you could hear Arnold all throughout the game telling you what to do. Hit ball here or whatever. I like games like that as well. It keeps it pretty simple.
Yeah, I'm always saying in my videos, well, there's the light's flashing at that lane, so I'm going to aim for it because it must be flashing for a reason. So, if all else fails, pay attention to what it's telling you.
Right.
Well, it does make a big difference.
Listening to what Digital Victory talked about, I'll go ahead and say, Off Grid was saying that you started out with a real pinball machine, and that's the route you went. Now, we both kind of heard a lot of talk about the At Games products. Now, I do have the At Games, what's it called? The stand-up arcade cabinet. Well, the Ultimate.
Legends Ultimate,
Legend Ultimate, yeah. That's the first thing I actually put in my arcade. I was at Sam's Club. I saw one, and I drooled over it and came home and told my wife I really wanted it. Told her I'd buy her something sparkly if she let me get it. So So I bought that, and it came with those pinball buttons. And I had, years ago, when I was a kid, I worked for a guy in the neighborhood, a unique business. I'm going to get like retro here and not try to tell too long a story, but he actually filled gumball machines. The gumball machines you see, and way back in the day, they were a penny. Yeah. Well, he hired kids in the neighborhood to ride along in the van with him, and he'd take the globe off and clean them, and you'd pour gumballs in and take the pennies out. But he had a pinball machine in his basement, and we'd go help him do stuff and make money. Not much, but for us kids, it was soda pop money. Yeah. We'd play pinball. So that was my experience with loving pinball. But then, cool, I bought that Legends device, and I did, unlike you, Ed, I did try the OTG, and I started playing FX pinball on that.
Oh, nice.
And I said, this is cool, but the screen's the wrong way. Screen's this way, not this way. So
yeah.
So in the meantime, I had I thought, I'd like to have another game system, but I built my own Raspberry Pi system, basically my own cabinet. I thought, I wonder how I could do that with a TV and for a monitor, and so I put together my own cabinet, and I installed the buttons and all that. What do you call them? USB encoder or whatever they are.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm terrible with terminology. I just say I bought that thing, and I thought, well, if I can build that. So I didn't make any plans or anything. I just started. I bought a monitor that looked. I said, oh, that's cool. So I measured how wide and long it was and built a box around it, and I just kept building. And finally I put together this machine. Now herein lies the. Now let's get back to on subject with the games. After doing that, I enjoyed it. I love the fact that I built my own, but I also had some carpentry background, and I have plenty of room. I got a big enough garage and basement and tools, woodworking tools, that I could do that. But really, if I sit and look at it, if I only did it because I wanted to create my own, but if I was to do it all over again, because I've gotten a little older since then, I would probably buy one of these games, because it's basically a turnkey system, with the exception of some stuff that I'm going to turn it back over to Digital Victory and give him a little more chance to talk about what you have to add to that to get it to do all these things. But so that's kind of, I made that clear as mud, I'm sure, but that's kind of my history. Is I started out with, it was a combination of building my own gaming system, just like a meme, Raspberry Pi system, and combination with the games that I'd bought and seeing the pinball, and I said, I want a pinball. Now, since then, my wife says everything you do, you go nutty about, and I did. Since then, I built 2 V pins finally. I've got the games. I've got the arcade unit that I hung on the wall that I built, and then I bought 2 real pinball machines.
Wow.
And that's the last thing I'll say, is because I'll forget. If you think what Digital Victory and Off Grid are talking about as far as rules, that Stranger Things pinball, I got the modern, brand new Stern pinball machine. First of all, they don't come with the rules when you buy them. You got to go online and find somebody that's had one for a while and decided to post a list of rules. But I'll tell you what, I've had that game since September, and there's still stuff on there that I don't have a clue how to open up.
Right.
Don't have a clue. And I printed out all the rules, but the guy even writes the rules, and he says, I will update these as I find more, because it's left to the user to find them on these games.
Oh, that's wild.
So even on a real pinball machine, that's how close they're getting with this. So I want to real quick too just say the Unknown Gamer, we all know him. He's just checked in. Chaos J Houston, Kelly's in here with us. Off Grid, of course, is in the chat too as well. I think that's pretty much, I hit everybody. I just and Mr. Postal, if you're still here, not asleep.
Yeah, he's probably asleep by now. He's got to get up early. I do want to say, Greg, you did mention about my digital pinball versus the, and I kind of went into the rules. But I'm kind of similar with you. I started off, I built a MAME machine years and years and years ago. So, and when the reason, or I agree with you in the fact of, if I were to start over from scratch at this point, I probably would get the At Games pinball and just add a computer the way Digital Victory did, because it's easier and it'll look better than what I built for sure. But what I did, the reason I did what I did is I had 95% of the parts just laying around from stuff that I've done before. when I built my pinball machine, I bought a piece of plywood to build the box and the little chip that you can nudge the table. Everything else I already had. So it cost me about $60 to build the thing. I already had the TV for the play field. I already had a monitor for the back glass. I already had buttons. I already had the encoder. I had one of those iPacks laying around. It's like I already had everything. I had a PC sitting there that could run it. So that's why I built a home built, is because I had a little experience with MAME and I had all the parts. So it was really cheap. But
so you guys actually like sawed wood, built the box and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
Now G.Parkers machine looks a lot better than mine because I've seen his, and I literally my cabinet is just really there to hold the TVs and the monitor.
Well, let me just say something. I appreciate the comment from Off Grid, but you got to remember, camera angles can do a lot of funny things with how things look. So when I show people on my channel my shot, come over to my house, have a beer with me, come down to the room, and look close enough, and you'll go, "Why the hell is that an inch higher than the other side?" I'll sound like Pee Wee Herman and go, "I meant to do that," but right. I mean, it's full of flaws, but it's functional, and I don't know. My wife loves it. She just does not like gaming, but when I started getting these pinballs, she plays. So anyway, with that said, I want to just fill in a little more time, and hopefully our other guests will show up. But Digital Victory, you got a little more. Can you go a little more in depth about what it takes now to?
Absolutely, and quick shout out to Unknown Gamer and Feral Inferno and my man Bamford Blue. Thanks for stopping in. He's a regular on my channel. Bamford Blue is a good guy.
Oh, thanks and Feral Inferno's here. Bamford Blue, great to see you. And the Unknown Gamer, just for everybody to know for a fact. See, this is the doorway out of my room, and he is in the room over there. That's my son.
Hey, okay.
So he's just here for support. So anyway, take it away.
Son on your own stream?
Yeah. Oh, well, what's that?
That's crazy. You have your son on your own stream here checking in?
Yeah, because I won't let him in here. I said stay out.
That's absolutely nuts. Who does that? Anyway. What's up, Bamford Blue? Anyway, as far as the AT Games Legends Pinball, there's folks that take that to an extreme that is so far beyond me. Like, I'm amazed that you guys built your own cabinets, and I respect that so much. People take this AT Games pinball and they replace the exciters in it. They put the Dayton exciters in it. And those that don't know, the exciters are the things inside the cabinet that make it thump when the ball's hitting the bumpers and when you're hitting the flippers. And the ones that come with it are kind of weak. And sometimes they're a little iffy. So people tear it apart and they put new powerful ones in it. And they put a subwoofer inside of it. All these really nice upgrades. And I'll tell you,
can you hold that? Can you hold that thought for a second? I apologize for the interruption. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people around the world, it's time to introduce the one. You said he can hear me in there, right? Give me a wave. Are you really there? Can you hear me? Yeah, there he is. Okay. The one, the only, the retro arcade music man. Bada boom.
Hey.
Listen to me, Unknown Gamer. You live in my house. You go by my rules. You have to be in my chat room when I am live doing my show. That's the rules of the house. That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Hello, everybody.
Now, Retro, I want to make sure, I was talking about this earlier. I want to make sure you're in the right position. Are you happy there, or I can move you over here? I know you're kind of funny about where you want to be. So,
like Martha Stewart, I'm a perfectionist. I'm not perfect. I like it right there so I can stare it off grid. How you doing?
Well, I interrupted Digital Victory to...
yes, he's talking about all the extras and stuff that people are putting in the pinball machine.
Right.
Please
So,
continue.
what I want to do though is I want to explain to everybody. Here's my thought. Off Grid and I are here to kind of field any questions about the home built systems or any questions we may have about the games. But the main intention here was, are you going to make your reveal real quick, Retro, with your camera? Can you, or do you want
Let's
to?
see here. My camera can go this way right there. What do you think? How about that spot right there? Would that be okay?
Nice.
What do you think of that?
Nice.
Little victory. Look at that thing.
I love it. I love it.
And what I didn't hear Digital Victory talking about was one of the stock tables was a machine that I'm so happy that it's there. It's called Cactus Jacks. It just comes stock. It's right there.
You like Cactus Jacks?
Yeah. Well, because I played the real table. The real table is amazing. But this thing's a little bit different. But there it is, Cactus Jack. It comes stock.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's not one of Digital Victory's top 5. He liked Rescue 911. He liked. You really liked that one. And then there was one that was
Victory.
Wipeout or something like that. Wipeout. You love Wipeout. So I'm going to try that one.
I want to throw this chat. I want to throw this chat up here real quick. Jay Houston, G.Parkers TV Digital Victory saved me a fortune with their videos. I have a arcade pedestal, but wanted a poor man's pinball machine. So I just want to thank Jay Houston for jumping in there. And Feral Inferno's here. Classic Gaming. I didn't mention you earlier, so I think I'm caught up on the chat. But with that being said,
welcome.
And I think I'm just going to take and what was I going to do? See, I'm old. Well, no, I think I'm going to let Digital Victory go back to where he was at, and then I'm going to turn it over to Retro Arcade and Digital Victory, and I'll sit here and kind of might interrupt if I see something interesting for the chat, wherever you all are. So take it away, Digital Victory.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, G.
That's what I want to hear.
Feral Inferno. No, that is not Ace of Base. That is the symbol of the one and only Prince singer. So Retro knows all about that. Anyway,
I see some commonality there.
Absolutely. The upgrades that people make on this are amazing. Most of mine are cosmetic. I like the LEDs. I have the LED strip lights underneath it and behind the back box, and the back is the speakers.
Sound activated. Your LED strips are sound activated.
They are. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, see, there you go. That, to me, it's more cosmetic. I do have a subwoofer along with my PC that I have placed near the feet, and that bumps nicely, and I can feel it when I play. So I haven't upgraded the exciters, and my exciters don't operate via OTG anyway. Now, the stock tables, yeah, I get complete haptics on the stock tables, but the OTG tables do not. Okay, those haptics don't work. I have heard that there is a way to do it, and there's an particular mod you can do in the OTG software or the VPS software, virtual pinball software, but I don't know how to do it. And again, I'm not a real tech kind of guy, so I get enough haptics with the subwoofer that I'm fine with it. Doesn't bother me that much. If anybody watches my channel, they've heard me say this probably a dozen times. I'm notoriously ambivalent when it comes to certain things. Many people have asked about lag, via OTG. And when I first hooked up my PC to my Legends pinball here via OTG, there was a little lag, and I could tell. And they upgraded the firmware on the Legends pinball, and lo and behold, it more or less disappeared. Now, I've said this on my channel too. If someone hooked up some sort of top, super tech timer to my machine, they could probably say, "Oh no, look, it's you're 1/200th of a second off." Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't notice it. I'm notoriously ambivalent, and whatever. I play it. You guys watch videos. You can see I can play and more or less hit what I'm aiming for. So it's not an issue. Lag is not an issue. And that goes for VPX, Future, FX3. They all feel a little different when you play them, but after 2 or 3 balls, you're right in the groove, and it's not a big deal.
So cool. I guess some of the questions I have to do with the upgrades. some folks mount like a button to switch from the computer to the just basic tables. Some people just go stock, like Brooklyn Menace, and he just puts all the tables available. He'll buy the Zachariah set. And some people like to play off of the computer. Do you have a preference of computer OTG gameplay versus whatever At Games Legends offer on their table? Which one?
Absolutely. The computer tables are better via OTG. Now, I have the Vibs board, and I can switch back and forth. It's not dedicated purely to play through the computer. And when the new tables come out, like when the Zachariah tables would come out with their 4-packs of tables, I would do videos highlighting the new tables, and then ultimately I would do tutorials on the new tables. But when I'm in here by myself and I got a beer or whatever, and I'm just playing, my buddy comes over, or Bamford Blue, when he comes over, we hang out, we play. We're almost always doing the OTG tables. They're just better.
And so maybe your friend prefers those over the stock tables. Is it because of the lag? Is that why?
No, it is. I'm not trying to dog Legends pinball system, because it's an awesome system, as you know. But I think that their ports of the tables were poorly done. The 8-Ball Deluxe.
Some of them are blurry, right? Some are grainy, some are blurry.
The artwork itself is poorly done, but even the physics of the ball, and as ambivalent as I am, I can tell when it feels more realistic, when you're hitting the ball and when it's rolling and bouncing off things. It doesn't seem to have as much weight on many of the tables on the Legends pinball. Even on the OTG, on VPX and Future, some tables are just a lot better on the physics. And if I think about it for a little bit, that new Mario Kart that came out for VPX that I did a review on a couple of videos ago, that's got great physics. The ball just feels wonderful, and it has a nice rolling sound, and everything feels right when you play it. Whereas when I play Victory on the Legends pinball, Victory is a real good example. I love the game and I love the rules, but it's very computer pinball. You can tell it doesn't. There's no immersion like many of the others.
Can I ask you? I want to jump in and just ask you a question, if you don't mind answering. I'll tell you how many I have. How many? Now, I'm not talking stock tables, but the computer OTG. If you don't mind saying, how many tables do you have? The numbers are huge, right? I mean, it can be, or they can be.
Isn't there 1,000 tables or plus out there?
Yeah, I have 445 on this.
445?
I have 445 on this. And I have, Ghostbusters, I got 3 different versions on here. So some of the tables I got multiple copies of. But
like Kiss.
The variety is huge, of course.
Because didn't Kiss come out with a table in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, probably?
Yeah, I got a couple of Kiss tables on here. One of them is a Future pinball table, and one is VPX. And the Future pinball table, to me, feels a lot better than the VPX version. I think the skill of the programmer that makes these really matters, because some of them are just not that good. And I think the stock tables with the Legends pinball are a good example of that. And again, I'm not trying to rip on it, but they're just not as high quality. Even the Zachariah tables, which are, you can buy them, and they're on a USB that sticks in the top of the system here, and they're from through their website. It's an official Legends product, but they're way higher quality than the 22 came with it. I really like a lot of the Zach tables.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in and say that, and I know I'll probably get in trouble ranking them, but there's a lot of people that have VPX and they just talk trash on Future pinball and vice versa. I find them to be equally rewarding to me. I wouldn't pick one over the other. Now, I know that some news of late has been, this controversy over FX pinball going from FX3 to FX and leaving Steam and going to Epic. But come on, man. And the new pricing system and this and that, and they're not really ready for the cabinet users like we are yet. But I'm telling you what, all that stuff aside, and I'll agree with people. There's some stuff out there, but my God, Zen Studios is putting out the most beautiful,
looking,
beautiful, sounding, excellent physics games. you can find, and you can, in fact, and you tell me, Ed, you can play those on your machine, right?
Absolutely. I have all the FX3 tables, all of them. I happily paid for all those through Steam. And, as part of Pinball Emporium, it allows you to play that through the system. And they're all great. That's just FX3. I have not gotten any of the new tables yet from the new Pinball FX. As soon as they get that cabinet up, I absolutely will. Mostly for the tables I don't have yet. Some of my favorite tables, I'll double dip and get the new versions of those. But even the new tables that they've come out with, they look amazing.
I've got I did buy all the new ones, and I have figured out how to play them in vertical mode, but it's really sketchy and there's no backglass. Now I've seen some other YouTubers tell you talk arounds, but until that comes out, I'm getting old and lazy, and I'm just not going to jack with it until they come out with something instead of me going to all the trouble to make it work. Because I admit, one user told me how to make it work, and it quit working the next day, and then I had to learn another way to make it work. So it's hit and go right now.
I wouldn't want to mess with any of that. And there's something to be said, and you may want to consider this, Retro, as new owner of the Legends Pinball. They are not the most robust product when it comes to the circuitry and the boards. From everything I've read, I can't speak on it personally. Mine has worked just fine, but I don't mess with it. I put the Vibs board in it, and I was very careful with attaching the ribbon cable and putting it into the Vibs board. But for instance, one of the problems is if you're not careful with the ribbons cable, you can pull it out of that top monitor, and you're screwed. That's it. You're done. You got to send it in, or they'll send you a new monitor with cable or something. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why they would produce a product that you're able to break so easily. I mean, my laptop, your laptop, you can mess with these, and you're not going to break it with simple adjustments. But these are pretty fragile, so you may want to consider that when it comes to modifying it. That's been a big part, I'll be honest with you, why I haven't messed with any of the exciters and doing anything internally to it. I don't want to mess with it. It's working great now, like it is.
Well, you said you were not.
Jay. I just wanted to say thanks to Jay Houston for acknowledging. I guess he's enjoying the panel and the discussion. So keep it up, guys. That's all I got.
So Digital Victory had talked about how he was inspired by some of the big YouTubers out there, P-Dubs and Cool Toy, and others that have modified this thing. This machine, although you can mod it, you can do stuff to it, you can put your computer and hook it up to it, but there's also a thing where you can put a joystick and a trackball. Have you not considered doing that? Or do you have a different machine in the house where you play that stuff on?
I do have a different machine for that. CoinOps, again, was kind of my avenue of getting into all this. CoinOps is a system that somebody created that has basically a big giant image that you download, put on an external hard drive, and hook up to a PC, and it has thousands of arcade games. All right, and one of the CoinOps, I guess, versions they came out with was the vertical CoinOps. And the vertical CoinOps, you literally just set the monitor on its side, and I had somebody build a steel stand that I used with a vertical monitor, and I had an old Dell Optiplex, and I was playing vertical games on it. And I would play the FX3 tables on it that way. And when they came out with by the way, that joystick he's talking about, that's an official Legends product. Okay, yes. So I would have no issues getting that and hooking it up to this and using it like that to play the vertical games if I didn't already have that other setup. But
Gotcha.
That is not a crazy mod where you got to do something weird that might mess up your machine, to my knowledge, at all. That's an official product.
Did you do that? Did you hook a CoinOps into that USB that's on there and try it out with just the little pad they have on there? You try that?
I have not. My OTG works great. I got all the tables in the world, and I play my arcade games on the other one. So no, I haven't done that.
Yeah, and plus you were talking about that you weren't techie, but yet you started to research the software side of it. So you started to learn a lot from scratch, stuff that you didn't know about before. And you've kind of passed along that knowledge onto your channel. So folks, if you haven't checked out Digital Victory's channel, not only is it a great channel, but informative, but he inspired me to get this pinball machine right here, along with my employer, who also has one. So I've got two in the house. I've got one for me and I've got one for him, and we're figuring it all out together. But you, sir, are the person that inspired us to do it.
Hey,
and
all right, I appreciate that. That's great.
It was the music table. Remember the music table one? It had AC/DC, it had Elvis, it had the Beatles, it had was it the Elton John one on there? I'm not sure.
Elton John, Metallica. Yeah.
Those are great.
Let me just take a minute here, and I just want to make sure I include everybody. Off Grid, have you got anything you'd like to throw in or ask real quick here, or take a little break while I check out the chat?
Hook them up.
Oh, I was just waiting to hear more on.
Okay.
Well, what is the dang it? Now it leaves my head. What is that thing you put in there?
Bibs.
Yes. What does that involve to install that?
I believe it stands for Video Interface Board. And what that is, pardon me?
Oh, the Rachel board, they called it.
Yeah, the Rachel board was the original name for it. And it allows you to use your back glass with OTG. Before that, I had a separate monitor sitting on top of my PC that would show the back glass. And the one that came with it would just be blank. And you can see that on my old videos. Look up the Evil Knievel video. It's like the 8th video I ever did on my channel. You'll see the back glass was just a separate monitor I had off to the side. The Vibs board, and it's offered by Legends or AT Games at Games. It's actually a product that they produce. I think it was $50, and you have to go behind the Legends pinball and pull off the back, and then carefully pull out the ribbon cable, put the Vibs board in, plug the ribbon cable into the Vibs board, and put the Vibs board ribbon cable back into that, and then you plug the HDMI from the PC into the Vibs board. I was nervous the whole time. I was sweating bullets because, again, I'm not, when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it worked. And if I could do it, most people could do it. But I did hear some, not nightmares, but some bad stories about folks that were not careful when they were doing it, that pulled the ribbon cable out of their system.
Wow. Yeah.
I think you can buy a replacement ribbon cable out there, but I don't think it's an official one. That's the thing. By
the way, this was my vertical system that I hooked up with somebody fabricated me a stand with a 4x4 tube. Pulled it up.
How big is that TV?
And worked great for the retro or for the vertical games,
Yeah.
How big? Retro asked how big the monitor was.
32.
So the exact same size as this thing. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I just want to point out too, what we're here talking. We got Retro here. I'm here, Digital Victory, but I don't know if this is going to be a question that you would have asked, but I'm going to ask on your behalf, Off Grid. Off Grid, you can tell by the name, we all got our uniqueness, and Off Grid's one of the coolest guys I know, because this guy's running an arcade, and he's not on the grid. He's running off a solar. So I guess what I'm wondering is Off Grid, do you see any problem with running that at Games on the power source that you're on, or do you not have enough information? I mean, got any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Oh, I would be curious. The first thing I would do is plug the thing into a kilowatt meter to see how many watts those things pull. But I'm guessing they're probably, most modern equipment is fairly low draw. So I'm sure I would think my pinball machine is drawing more power than your pinball machine, mainly because my back glass monitor is a CRT. So it's pulling, I think half of my power draw is that CRT, and the other half is the PC that's running it, which you're running a PC also. And then, but I'm thinking the machine itself, the at Games pinball, is probably pulling less power than my monitor is on my back glass. But I don't know if you're aware of what the power draw is on those.
I wouldn't know.
Retro, you got to know that at some point I was going to ask you, how much power does that thing draw? When you live on batteries.
I got to hook up a meter. I got to hook up a meter to that thing.
Yeah.
It can't be too bad, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. I mean, I was shocked.
Board.
What's that?
It's just basically just the two monitors and a little board with an SSD. And then my PC is in a separate outlet plugged into the wall on the other side of the corner.
Yeah.
When I was looking in the back of that machine, sorry, off grid. When I was looking in the back of that machine, you could almost slide a PC inside of there because there's some extra spots in there where it's just there's extra room because the monitor's at a slant a little bit, but it would probably heat up that computer in that enclosure quite a bit. So I don't know what kind of damage that would do to the PC. Go ahead, off grid.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I'm sure the PC is drawing more power than the pinball.
Oh, yeah.
With those I was shocked at how little power. If you watch my video when I did the power draw and all the systems, my pinball machine draws more power than the main machine, the iArcade, and the arcade 1-up Star Wars all combined use less power than the pinball machine. And that Star Wars arcade 1-up only drew like 15 watts. It's like
that's awesome.
That's nothing. That's nothing. I can play on that for hours, and it doesn't add up to cooking one burrito in the microwave. So, what the heck, But,
great. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Digital Victory. There are new tables coming out all the time. What are the chances that we have access to like the brand new Rush table or the brand new Weird Al Yankovic table that's coming out? What are the chances we can get that?
Great question. The chances are great later. Okay.
Right.
When I would see videos of the real pinball machines, because a lot of the YouTube algorithms don't know the difference between digital pinball and real pinball. And because I'm always looking at pinball stuff, I'm always getting video recommendations for real pinball machines too. And when the new Ghostbusters came out, and gosh, another one that I can't think of, when those came out, I got so excited. I started looking for the digital version, and nowhere to be found. And this is my opinion. This is not fact, but this is my opinion. I think.
What do you think?
Real pinball machine manufacturers, your Stearns, your Williams, etc. I think they don't give a shit if it's an old machine. Okay, but I think when one of their new machines, they're very strict about the release of the ROMs and who's allowed to get it, and they, everything we're doing is illegal. We all know that. Okay, you can't just use these ROMs, legally, supposedly,
without owning them. When you own the ROM or when you own the machine, then you can own the ROM. So basically, you would need every pinball machine ever to have it.
So retro, we'll never see retro play
license.
Yeah, we'll never see retro play anything except for Firepower 2 because that's the only one he's allowed to own.
Right. I got Cactus Jacks loaded up right now. I'm ready to go.
That one's licensed, so you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. But like,
and
to
follow up, kind of
looks good, right?
To follow up, kind of, or add to what Digital Victory was just saying. Some of these new tables, you'll get tricked into it because you'll see they'll be like, "Oh yeah, Stern just released this table," or whoever released this table, and you'll see it on one of the VPX sites, and you'll download it, and it's not the table.
The same.
Exactly.
It's close, but it's not the table.
Grid, you got it exactly. And Batman 66 was my first exposure to that. I got so excited when I saw, the real Batman 66 in videos looked cool as hell. And then I saw a version online, like you said, and I downloaded immediately and I played it, and it was kind of fun. But I was like, that's not exactly what I remembered. And I looked completely different. And then when I read the description, I went back to the website where I downloaded it and read the description. And it, what's the word they use? It's not a mockery, but an homage, I think is what they said.
It wasn't the same.
No, right. And it's the same with Ghostbusters as well, or Addams Family. No, I'm sorry, not Addams Family. The other Scary Family TV show that was on, The Munsters. The Munsters came with one too. Again, the real Munsters table is amazing. And then when I saw a version pop out, it's like, oh great, no, it's not it. So exactly, but later they do come out with the real one. The new Batman 66 is available now as a real digital table, and you can download it, and it's awesome, just like the real one. But it takes a while, probably a year or two. Great question.
I was wondering. So you were really excited about that Ghostbusters table, and it took you a year to get to the point where you could have a table worth playing digitally. Yep. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the one that bit me was was Godzilla, when the new Godzilla table came out, and then they had one on, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they just redid Godzilla," and I download. I'm like, "This is not Godzilla that's in the arcade."
Yeah,
it's a
real
fun
quick.
table. Whoever did it did a great job, but it's not the table.
Mhm.
Just want to shout out to and you guys help me with the pronunciation. SJMEOLA.
S.J. Miola, how are you, sir?
Miola. Yes, I want to
Always
say
good to
hello.
see S.J. Miola.
And Gamer Effects, I think I saw jump in here. I know Feral Inferno, Jay Houston, and of course, I never want to leave anybody out, but here he is once again.
Let's do it.
Arcade Chaos. And where is the other guy? The guy that feeds cookies to monsters. Cookies to monsters. So,
Oh yeah, where you been, Digital Victory? We're having a party over here every Sunday night. Actually, Digital Victory does show up. So
here he is. Here he is. I'll put him up on the thing. Smiling monsters feeding animals cookies. Bada bing, bada boom.
Awesome.
So go ahead, guys. I just every now and then I don't mean to interrupt, but I like to recognize, especially again, a big shout out to Arcade Chaos, my man. He's here tonight. He's here every night.
Good to see you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And Arcade Chaos does have a.
By the way, Chaos is doing pinball tournaments, right? Off grid, isn't Arcade Chaos?
That's what I was just going to say. Chaos has a tournament going on right now on FX3 with the Steam or on the Switch, so you can play it on Steam also. But just do a search by the name Arcade Chaos, all one word.
And, you got a Switch, Digital Victory?
And whip my
score. But I'm considering getting one just for Mario Kart and that other new racing game that came out, the Cruisin' Blast. That was amazing.
And by the way, Digital Victory, you can hook up your Switch to your At Games Legend pinball machine, and you can play pinball games from your Switch all over there, right there on the tournaments.
Yeah, so it's on my wish list for sure.
Man,
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I'm excited. I am excited.
Sorry, guys, I interrupted. Go ahead and continue. I just wanted to make sure we caught everybody, and so go ahead. I'm sitting back here, standing by. Go ahead.
No worries. Hey, you talked about Future Pinball and VPX. For those that don't know, the main pinball programs that create the digital tables that we play and enjoy via OTG on your PC are VPX, which is Virtual Pinball 10. All right.
Yep.
Future Pinball and FX3, or the new version is called Pinball FX. And Future sometimes gets the short end of the stick from people, but there's some amazing tables on Future Pinball. And a table I would consider one of the greatest pinball machines I've ever played is on a Future Pinball system. And that's Star Wars Death Star Assault. And I do have a video for that one that I did. It's not a tutorial because I just was so excited to play it and put it up on a video that I didn't bother to learn the rules yet. But
does that one have all the crazy graphics with the characters moving around and animated and all that?
Ships. There's ships that fly around, no characters. FX3 Star Wars tables have characters, and those are great too. But Death Star Assault just has that amazing feel for Star Wars that, man, it's one of the greatest pinball tables I've ever played, and that's Future Pinball. I definitely recommend that.
That's so cool. I got to get some exciters on there because the stock haptic feedback, it's not that great. So I gotta bump it up a little bit, get some more sound in there. You mentioned a subwoofer somewhere. Where is that subwoofer? Is it behind the machine for you?
Yeah, it's at the base of it. Yeah, down on the floor.
Okay.
And it's just
Does that help?
Logitech. Yeah, it helped big time. It was, and I got it mainly for the OTG because OTG the haptics didn't work for me. Hey, Houston, right on. Exactly, I agree with you, man.
Is that hooked up to the subwoofer? Is that hooked up to the computer, or is the subwoofer hooked up to the pinball machine?
No, it's strictly for the computer for OTG because the haptics do work on my Legends pinball. Again, like you said, though, they're pretty weak. It's not a real immersive experience, and again, doesn't bother me that much. It's like, it's okay. By the way, this hasn't been brought up yet. Is the nudge buttons? the nudge buttons. On the Legends Pinball, for those that don't know, it's got built-in accelerometers that if you physically bump the table on Legends Pinball, the table inside, it has an effect. You can adjust the flight of the ball sometimes by bumping it, or you save your ball. There's also 2 buttons, by the way. In addition to your flipper buttons, just below that are the nudge buttons. On OTG, when you play the computer versions of pinball, I connect mine using Joy to Key. All right, and it basically recognizes it as a Microsoft joystick, joypad, and I have those keys mapped so that those nudge buttons on my Legends Pinball also work on all the OTG tables, and that's a real skill that I have not mastered yet. But I see people are able to play a lot longer because they're real good at saving the ball when they see it going down the middle and nudging the table.
Well, also that Legends Pinball has the physical nudge. Could you joy to key the physical nudge on that? Or maybe you couldn't do that. Maybe somebody has. I'm not sure. That's interesting.
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know.
So when you're playing on VPX, say, you have to use the nudge buttons, or can you use those accelerometers?
Yeah.
No, just the nudge buttons for me. Could you hook up the accelerometers? It's all computer stuff. Someone's real smart and can probably figure it out. Yeah. It's nothing that I've ever learned how to do.
Yeah, because I'm kind of the opposite with VPX, and I'm going to have to install Future Pinball after you said about the Star Wars one, because G.Parker over there, he's been telling me that just do it, dude. It's not that difficult. Just do the Future. But I've been chicken and I haven't done it yet. But now I'm going to have to. But when I'm playing VPX, I can nudge the table. My accelerometers work and stuff.
With the button.
But there you go.
But when I was using it in FX3 on my table, the way that FX3 interprets those, it interprets it differently. I could nudge it, but then it would eventually turn into a button press. So if you nudged it too hard, it would just do multiple button presses. And I couldn't finesse it. So I disconnected I told it to ignore the accelerometers, and I actually just I think 2 weeks ago, I installed nudge buttons for FX3 and ditched the accelerometer. You drilled new
holes and everything?
Yeah, I drilled holes and I put new buttons in for the nudge. But in VPX, the accelerometers work brilliantly because I can really finesse it. You can nudge it hard and tilt, or you can just barely nudge. And
let me bring up one thing about nudges, because I'm not sure about this one either, and maybe Digital Victory knows. There are 2 kinds of nudges. There's a soft nudge, a hard nudge, and then there's just nudge. Which one does this have? Does it just have nudge yes or nudge no? Or does it have the medium nudge and the hard nudge?
Just nudge. Just nudge.
So it's nudge yes or no. Got it.
There's a left nudge and a right nudge and a center nudge. Okay, that's an important distinction to know. And there are buttons on the Legends Pinball that represent each of those. Okay.
Really?
Again, I have those programmed in on the OTG,
right,
for the same thing, but they're mapped to keys, which are then mapped to the joystick to connect to it via Joy to Key.
Yeah,
it's not as complicated as it sounds. But the left and right nudge buttons are easy. The front nudge buttons, it is mapped to the space bar on the PC, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but I got a keyboard right here.
Okay.
For bringing stuff up and cycling through the tables and things like that. But I play with the buttons. But there's no center nudge button on my machine for hooking up to that. And to be honest with you, on Legends Pinball, I don't use the center nudge.
Got a drill
in front of the machine, and it's hard to get to. So
Offer's got a drill. He'll get you a button.
Well, see, that's what I thought. I was going to put a button in the front of my right near the top, and then just hit it with my fat belly, and then that would nudge it forward. But then I realized I'd just be nudging the whole time because I don't have my whole arcade's only a 6x12, and when you got a pinball machine in a 6 foot wide thing, and I'm too wide, I'd be just constantly nudging. So I decided against that.
Can anybody answer Feral Inferno's question? I've got some I'm going to take a quick break here. I'm starting to get questions in the chat. So I'm going to
I
go
love
through
it.
them one at a time. Here's the
Let's
first
keep
one
this
that I
show
noticed.
rolling.
So you guys take it away there, Ed, and see if you can answer that question.
Does anyone have an EM, a solid state, or DMD pins? Great question. EM is electronic. Isn't that the ding ding table? Isn't that what that is?
Electrical mechanical.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I had one of those, but I don't. That's the one the mice ate. I had an EM machine that I had gotten for free, and I got it working, and I had the schematics and everything. And then the mice got into it, ate all the wiring, and made a nest out of the schematics.
Go back and watch the story right here on G.Parkers channel. Watch the story of the mice.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then I had the Joker's table, which I guess that's
What's a DMD pin? What's that?
Well, the only thing I can guess is well, first, my question back to Feral Inferno is if you're talking about digital or real. Now, as far as like in the digital world, they have creations of the EMs, the solid states.
We have all of those.
Right. Now, in the real world, I just off-grid answered. I'll say that I've got 2 solid state. Now, the 77 Stingray is a solid state, but a matter of fact, the little history on that was the first game that was actually designed to go EM, but they came out with a solid state circuitry that year, so they switched it over, and when they released it as a solid state, so it's technically one of the first Stern machines that was solid state. So so now I've seen some at the arcade place that I go to, some EMs for sale, but the prices are going up on these things. This thing's turned into a big fad. So there's my answer. I'm gonna let Ed and Retro jump in, and then I'll move on to the next question. So any other guys want to answer that?
I got nothing. That's it. Just my digital pinball for me. I don't have any real tables.
The first time I tried a digital pinball was at the expo here in town. Retro Ralph was doing his very first little room where he did a presentation, and out on the main floor was a digital pinball machine, probably worth $4,000. And I played it. A friend of mine played it right after I did, and we thought, that's different. It is a different feel. Like real pinball versus digital pinball does feel different, but the excitement was still there. And I think that's what I enjoy about coming home, firing that thing up, and playing a couple games. It is exciting to see different tables on the same screen instead of the same old one over and over again. I'm really going to get some good use out of this thing. I really do, especially if I get that computer hooked up to it, which sounds like that's what Digital Victory likes the most, is the computer part of it.
Absolutely. But to that point, I was on a stream a while back with Mad Dad's Gaming and some other folks on that, and they asked about that very thing, the comparison of the real tables versus the digital tables. And I recently played some real ones before that stream, and the same tables that I'd played digitally, and my thoughts were the same. It's different. You can tell. It's obviously not the real thing, but pinball is pinball. Angles are angles. Once you've played a few balls and you get used to the, hitting the button to hit, the relationship to hitting the button, moving the flipper, whether it's digital or real, angles are angles, and the game remains the same. And once you're playing, it's real pinball. Obviously, the better the graphic and the better the sound, it's going to be a little more realistic and more immersive. But yeah, even back in the day, like I said, playing on my Atari computers, pinball was pinball. You could hit the ball and you have things you're aiming at, and translates very well to digital.
I do see the question, G. Parker. Let's get to that in just a second.
Sure.
When he's talking about software and people building their own tables, like the question posed on the screen here, and he wants to know if anybody could make software and make their own table. I stumbled across ABBA had a digital pinball table. But the one thing I noticed about the ABBA table was it was simply the Beatles table and then redesigned for ABBA with some live ABBA music and stuff. Have you come across that one, DV? And do you know of any software where you can create your own tables and share?
Okay. I have ran into that, and not the ABBA table, but it was through a Michael Jackson table. And a Michael Jackson table was a straight up reprint of another table, and I don't remember which. But that's not out of the question. Even back in the day, the old EM tables sometimes would use the exact same patterns and same layouts and just repaint them and call it a different name. But that's how a lot of those off-grid, the new tables that would come out, when you see a new version of it or a digital version of it, sometimes it was just a digital remake of another table. And it's like, wait, that's not it, you know?
Right.
But as far as people creating their own tables to custom tables to share with your friends, no. The answer is no. I've not seen that. One of the great selling points of my favorite golf game, 2K22 Golf, 2K21 Golf, is the fact that people could create their own table, their own courses. And it got to the point where the creators of these courses created amazing courses that were better than the courses that came with the game. And it reminds me of this, in that the tables that came with it are okay, but the tables that people create on VPX and Future are often better. So,
well, you
really,
can. You can, with VPX, you can create games.
That's exactly
where we'll allow you to create them, but it's very, very, very intricate. It's a lot of coding.
Yeah.
Some of these guys that make these tables will work on them for years before they release them. So, to answer Gamers Effects,
because of physics,
you can download VPX and you can make your own tables, but my gosh, you better be committed to doing it.
Yeah, it's not a.
I can't, but perhaps you could.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know, the beautiful thing about a digital table is, compared to a real table, is like the bumpers will never wear out. The tunnel will always work. The little flippers will always flip. The little thing that pushes the ball out of the popper will always work. On a real pinball machine, stuff starts to break. And G.Parker will tell you that. He's got that old EM machine. I've got a left flipper that's starting to stick on my firepower, and I've got to look at how to fix that or how to clean that. Whereas a digital machine works every time, as long as you got power to it.
Yeah. There's a lot of maintenance involved. And when I owned the two physical pinball machines, man, there was always something.
Always.
And I don't know if you ever answered Retro, but Retro's firepower is a solid state machine. Because when they were asking what the three types are, your firepower is a solid state machine. But
that's got a lot of, and but there's a board in there too. There's like 2 to 3 boards making, sound effects and noises and stuff through the speaker. So that's always good.
I'm going to just throw something up here real quick, just to give you an idea.
Feral Inferno's heading out. Just want to say bye.
Okay. Watch the replay.
Yeah, Feral Inferno, thanks for coming by. I just was going to show everybody real quick. This is a screenshot of a blank VPX, the software open. And you can take and go in here and open a pinball table that you've got in here without using any kind of front end. Once that's done, and I'm a little shy to do that because I don't want to lose our stream, but once you open that up, you can go in here and you can see there's such a thing called a script that's in there. And if you try to read that script and understand it, I'm telling you what, there's just a lot involved to it. And it would take a lot for somebody to learn to do it. But this is basically a blank canvas for building a machine. Am I right off grid? Would you say I'm right on that?
Yeah. You can start.
So when the ball hits this, it goes at this angle, depending on what angle it's coming from. All the rules are in there. The physics.
You're talking thousands of lines of code in that script, though. Thousands of lines. It's
No, thanks.
amazing what these fellas do.
Good.
Let
Guys
me,
and girls, whoever makes them.
Go ahead.
they're incredibly talented. Let me point this out, and I just learned this like a month ago. When you look at the script of any table, especially the more modern ones, the more recent ones seem to have that more. At the beginning of the script, they have an options section. All right, and there are sometimes just a one or two options, but you can adjust the boing of the flippers, whatever it's called, the flipper reaction. I forget the term they use. You can adjust the sound of the ball rolling, and I always turn mine up all the way. It'll give you like 1 through 5, and there's a particular number, like the rolling sound is currently 1 or 2, and you can change that from 1 to 5 to adjust the volume of it. And
I'm doing that.
different tables have different amount of options. Some don't have any at all. The more recent ones, they'll have more options. They even have multiple art of the back glass. All right, LUTs, lookup tables for the back glass artwork. The recent Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings table is, first of all, incredible. But they also, you can hit the control button on your keyboard when it first comes up on your screen and literally change different versions of the artwork of the table. Here's a black and white version. Here's a really high contrast. Here's a black light version. And it's freaking amazing. And the more modern tables have more of those features. And I'll be honest with you, VP Universe is the website where I get most of my tables. And the more modern recent ones that come out on VP Universe are all seem to increase by the month in their features and amazingness. Amazingness? They're just getting better and better.
That's a word. That's a word.
I love it.
That's good.
Thanks, Jay Houston, for the kind words. Thanks, Jay Houston. You see, it's up on the screen.
On.
Do not G.Parker, but Digital Victory, do you use all of those, I guess, creators, the VP Universe, the FX3, the Pinball Emporium, and I don't know all the rest of them, but do you use all of them, or are there some that you gravitate towards more or less? Do you have a preference?
No, I use all of them. I just play based on the table that I like best and want to play, and whoever makes it, makes it. FX3, I think, are the highest quality ones. They've been doing it the longest, and they have the cool animations. And I know some old school pinball guys don't like that. They don't want to play a Spider-Man table with a Spider-Man swinging across it. I think it's kind of fun. But for those that complain about that, it's a simple button on your keyboard, and it plays the original version of the table. You don't have to play the animated version.
Yeah, you can turn that on and off. I forget what it is. That's another thing. Some of these things, you've really got to learn what. I've had to dig and Google search to figure out what button turns this on or that on. And,
right.
It's a hobby.
Do you have a favorite?
To be honest,
G.Parkers?
hobby takes time and some commitment. You got to dive in. If you're going to do it, you got to do it.
Hey, Feral Inferno had a question for Off Grid, so I just thought he wants to know what machine the mice ate.
That one was called. It's just called Pinball by Stern. Actually, if you watch my live stream when I do that live stream like a week.
You did it
last
here
Saturday night or something.
Didn't you?
I did it. I did it on Saturday night.
Okay.
Oh, when I talked about it, yeah, when I told the story about the mice. But last Saturday night, I did a live stream. If you go and watch the replay, I actually pull that up on VPX, and I play but it was called Pinball by Stern, and it was kind of like your Stingray, G.Parker, where I had the EM version, and then a couple years later they re-released it as a solid state.
Right.
But I had the EM, and the guy gave it to me because he said he had two guys come into his house and couldn't fix it. I turned it on. It had the old scoring reels, and that's all it would do. So I pulled off the scoring reels and cleaned them, put it back in, and played a game. It was like I felt bad. Asked the guy if he wanted the machine back because I literally spent like 30 cents worth of rubbing alcohol on the contacts.
And it worked.
Wait, you did that before you left?
What's that?
Did you do that before you left his house?
No, I took it home and And
Okay.
I turned it on to see what it was doing, and I'm like, well, the scoring reels, it's trying to clear the score, zero out the scores. What's going on? So I shut it back off, pulled them out, cleaned them, got them, made sure they were spinning, put them back in, and
Nice.
and it was probably 80% working. There were some other wires that had come loose, and I had to fix a couple of I think I had to replace a couple of the crap. What do they call it? The solenoids. Because like one of the pop bumpers wasn't popping. So I put a new solenoid in it, and then I replaced the rubbers, put a new piece of glass on it, and I had it at about 95% when the mice ate it.
And then you called them back. How long before you called them back? Like a week later?
Yeah, we coached Little League at the same. We were opposing coaches, but I saw them at the baseball field like a week later, and I said, dude, I got that thing working in like 10 minutes. I said, but by that time I didn't do anything else to it other than that. So I said, you want me to bring it back? Because I feel guilty. You just gave it to me. He said, no, man, I was 5 minutes from taking it to the dump. I was just going to throw it away. So you did me a favor by hauling it off. And I'm like, yeah, but it works now. And he's like, yeah, but you fixed it. You keep it. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Right on.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then you probably got tons of amazing gameplay from that.
Oh yeah. That was a good time. I had that in the Joker's machine and all that stuff. And it was, I built a whole edition. Yeah.
Hey, you talked about the Joker's machine, vpuniverse.com. There is a new version.
I downloaded that. I downloaded that just 3 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Okay. It's great. Is it fun? Does it?
It plays pretty well. The version that I had, who did that? J.P. Salas had done a version of it, and his. I'm sure you're familiar with his machines are usually pretty good. And I don't know if it's just that I'm used to it. I got the new one because who was it? Those what do they call themselves that are redoing all these tables?
VPW,
they're the ones that really
VPW.
Yeah, VPW. It looks great and plays great, but I actually went back to the JP Salas one, and there's something about it that and I think it's just because I'm used to it. It's like it feels.
I thought the lighting was amazing on that new version. The lighting was just beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it looks gorgeous. There was just something about it that seemed a little different to me, but I literally played one game. And then I wanted to see the JP Salas version. So I did that again. Yeah. So I played one of those, and then I was hooked. So I played like 4 more and didn't want to switch back. I'm like, I'm just going to keep playing because I'm having fun. But I'll give it, I didn't uninstall it. I'll give it another chance and see. Maybe it's just something with the angle. Maybe I got to change the angle, which people might not even realize with a digital machine, you can change the angles and the view and all that stuff. And there are things that you can do on a digital machine that you just can't do on a physical, besides Spider-Man swinging across the screen. There are other things. I was watching MPT 3000. I don't know if you've seen him. He does Twitch streaming and stuff, but it's a play on that Mystery Science Theater. He does Mystery Pinball Theater, and he'll do little segments of things you can only do on a digital table. It's like you can't do that on a physical. Like the ball will go up and hover across the table and then drop over here. It's like, do that on a physical table. Let's see that one happen. But so there are cool things that you can do on digital.
And, one of the things you guys mentioned earlier was maintenance. I've had a tech that luckily I've befriended that charges me half the going rate of what it usually costs. To get a tech to come out to your house is typically about $100 an hour. And to work on your stuff. Now I've got one that's working a little cheaper than that. It's a gal. She actually learned how to do this because her dad routed pinball machines, and she followed him around working on them, and so she knows it. But if you're not talking about the regular maintenance of and there's some things I can fix myself, but when I hire her, it's when I realize that I need something done that I might as well hire her, because if I try to do it myself, I'm going to have to pay her for twice as long to come fix my mess.
Yeah.
Right.
But just aside from that, though, let's just, especially the Stingray's not a big a deal, but the Stranger Things has 6 balls in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, those 6 balls, when they go into multi-ball bowl mode, they're moving about 60 mile an hour, clanging into each other. Okay, when they clang into each other, they get imperfections in them. When they get imperfections in them, it eats, because a playfield on even a modern pinball machine is nothing more than a painted piece of plywood.
Yeah.
It's just painted artwork. So that's how tables get scruffed up. So aside from waxing, which I've had people tell me I'm creating a mortal sin, but they're full of poo-poo, because I've talked to some people that do pinball machines and have been doing them for years. I put a light coat of a carabiner wax on it. I think I'm pronouncing that right, carabiner or whatever. Light coat, nothing that you let build up. But the pinball machines, I put new pinball machines in there, pinballs in there, replace them once a month.
Wow. Once a month.
Well, because those balls are hitting each other, they get rough spots on them. They roll over your painted surface over the time.
Sure.
So now the cool thing is I'm getting the pinballs for $2 a piece, so that's $12.
That's worth it.
Right. But the other cool thing about it is you ought to see the drawer I've got full of old pinballs. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with them yet, but they're cool as hell. I mean,
buy a nice big wrist rocket and go elk hunting.
Well, I'll tell you what they're great for. I shouldn't advocate this, but this late night TV. When I'm riding my motorcycle, if there's some guy tailgating you and it happens to fall out of your pocket and bounce, he's not tailgating anymore.
I didn't hear anything.
I'm just teasing, kids. Don't do this at home. Don't play with matches.
Let me write that down.
Bro.
Yes, sir.
Hey, what are some of your favorite tables besides Cactus Jack on your new system?
The Getaway is one that comes to mind. I love the AC/DC table because I love the music part of that. I think that AC/DC is a lot of fun to play. Let's see. I enjoyed this one. I want to say that probably like that Funhouse was always a favorite of mine. And I remember growing up in a cafe, there was a line of about 4 pinball machines. And I want to say that some version of the Kiss table was there. And I used to play that a lot, but I don't know which version it is until I download it and check it out. But a lot of those music tables I liked. So we'll go with the music tables.
Right on.
I don't know. It's an adventure that I'm really looking forward to going on.
Right. Elton John's table, Captain Fantastic, is a really good one, a real classic. It's really simple though, and some of its criticism is it's too simple, and I can't disagree with that. But there's a great digital version that plays Elton John music in the background while you play it, and they don't just play, Benny and the Jets and Rocket Man, but they play some of the more obscure tunes, and it's pretty good. I enjoy that quite a bit.
Oh yeah, my friend Vic, he has old Charlie's Angels, the old Ding Ding EM table, and I used to go to his place to help him out with his arcade machine, and he'd let me play his Charlie's Angels. So I kind of enjoy that. I think it's things that we grew up with. So as I find these tables and play them, it'll probably trigger something in my brain that says, "Oh yeah, I did play that one years ago, and I do remember liking that." So that's the adventure I'm really looking ongoing, is finding these tables that I used to play back in the day when they were brand new machines, which makes me wonder, why were pinball machines more money to play than a regular Pac-Man game back in the day? What was it about a pinball machine that cost more than a Pac-Man machine or a Donkey Kong? Why is it more expensive? Why?
I have no answer for you.
That is just
Carol's in the house.
It doesn't.
To
me, it doesn't make sense. Hey, Carol. When you play a pinball machine today, it's $1. Pac-Man's still $0.25.
Well, so, when my Stranger Things came, it was set up for $1.
$1.
But I went into the software and dropped it down to $0.25. So when the unknown gamer, that lives here wants to play, he only has to put $0.25 in. I give him a break.
The rest goes to rent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, but was there the digital victory? This might be a future video for you. Find out when pinball went from 25 cents a play to 50 cents a play to 75 cents a play to $1 or whatever it is nowadays.
Great question.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
I definitely want to address that.
when pinball was cheap. It is no longer cheap to play. If you go to the arcade, it's expensive.
No.
Of
Which
course, you
is
know,
fine.
if you really want to study pinball, though, and I think I don't think you're all as old as I am, but you do know that in all of our lifetime, pinball was illegal in most, and it's been within our lifetime that pinball was illegal in Chicago and in New York. And I can guarantee you, none of us are old enough to say that we weren't alive because that was in the 70s, unless some of you guys were born in.
Well, you were alive, G. Parker. You remember that.
Well, sure.
G.Parker was alive when they just invented regular balls. Not even
right.
pinball, just
The wheel. Remember the wheel, G.Parker?
round. he was there on the day they invented round.
I don't know. It's just the way that came out when they invented balls. I wanted you to be specific about pinballs.
Right, yeah.
He was there when they invented wood. Remember wood, G. Parker? Wood came out?
Wood.
That was
Carol's
huge.
going to wonder what kind of stream she came into.
Yeah, I know.
You have to watch
But-
the replay.
But they were considered gambling machines. And a matter of fact, you can find some virtual pinballs that have no flippers. Have you seen those, Ed?
Wow.
There's some out there.
No,
that
I
have,
haven't.
if you search on VP Universe or the other one, the VP Forums, you can find some ones where you just launch the ball and it's all a game of chance.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
almost like a pachinko type of thing. You just launch it up and see where it falls. And you get so many ball launches and see how many points you could get.
That's
yeah.
Gamer Effects has got to get up in 4.5 hours. So we'll say goodnight to. Oh, wait a second. No, that was I guess he's saying good afternoon. Okay. Saying hi to Carol there, and somebody there's having to go to bed early.
You.
Wow. 4.5 hours.
That's okay. I'll see him on my post stream.
There you go.
So, I put up Charlie's Angels on the screen here, by the way.
Oh, did you? I got to pull
Yeah,
that up.
Charlie's Angels right there. But I didn't. I realized I didn't put the music in yet, so
There's one with music and there's one without music, right?
What's that?
The Charlie's Angels. There's one with music and then there's one without music. This is the old 74.
Yeah, you've been checking it out, I see. Yeah.
I think that that's one of those ones like you were talking about, Digital Victory. If you go into the script, the Charlie's Angels table I have for VPX, you can go into the script and you can have it play the original music from the table when it was released, or you can have it play clips from the TV show, and it's in the script.
Oh, wow.
You can choose the sound set you want.
I didn't even check it out yet. Oh, that's awesome. I will check that out.
I'm looking forward to the next Digital Victory video. It's so awesome. It's an honor to be here with you, Digital Victory. Thank you for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I want to say this. I want to thank everybody that showed up tonight. I want to give of course, a special shout out. Nobody's more special than others, but Retro Arcade, Music Man, Off Grid Arcade have been hanging with me for a long time. Very supportive. I'm tickled to have brought them in. But then I, through the pinball and all this, I've reached out to Digital Victory. We kind of did a collaborative thing once, and it worked out well. I kind of did a little intro for his channel, and we've been talking about getting together and doing this for a long time. And I'm really, really happy that we made it happen. I know people said they'd like to see a part 2, so who knows? Maybe we can all get together and do it again sometime. So
absolutely.
Now, I don't mean to by any means say I know we've been on for about an hour and a half now. I think probably getting to that hour. But in closing, I want to thank everybody, and I'm just going to go around the room, and I think I'm going to let Ed have the last word here because he's our special guest. But I'm going to turn it over to you first, Retro. You're right below me there. think you're right here. So you got any closing thoughts, Retro?
What a fun stream. Forget how amazing my channel is and how amazing my live streams are. How amazing was this show with G. Parker and Off Grid and the great Digital Victory with the knowledge and the stories. I had a great time, and I want to thank you all for coming by. Take it away, Off Grid.
Yeah, I'm going to echo kind of what you said. I mean, and like G. Parker said, those of you that have watched, you know, Retro Arcade Music Man, G. Parker, myself, Mr. Post Style, all those guys, we had a show together. So we've done, but this is the first time I've actually been on the screen with Digital Victory. And it's cool. I've never met you. It's been a fun time, and hopefully we can do this again, because it's been a really good time, very informative, and just a lot of fun.
You too.
Right on. I appreciate that. I feel the same way. For those who don't know, G. Parker does the stream every week, and I often hop in the chat, and I've gotten to see Retro and Off Grid several times and chat with them in the chat. But again, this is my first time on here as well. G. Parker especially, thank you. You and I have been in touch, and we've done a video together with Ace of Speed. Look forward to more collaborations in the future, and we're gonna have to do some sort of live pinball collaboration where we play together. Got to do that. Appreciate you guys very much.
I want to thank you again, and I think another reason I wanted to put this group together the way I did, because I know my friend Retro there has just acquired that beautiful machine, and with Ed up there, Digital Victory being kind of big on that, I just wanted to put them together. So I want to thank everybody once again. Again, I'm here every Sunday night. You never know who's going to show up. I still think for those of you, and it's in the works, that we may not have an official from Zen Studios, but I think we are definitely going to have maybe the custodian at Zen Studios on our show one night to discuss pinball. So I'll leave that as it may be. So and thank you, Unknown Gamer. And Unknown Gamer, if you can fix me a cocktail, it would be great, and bring it down here to me while I finish up.
He'll fling you a quarter for the Stranger Things game.
Yeah, I'll leave a tip.
Retro, are you doing a stream next, or no? Are you done for the night?
I'm going live. Check it out. Ring the bell.
All right. I'm going to be heading to bed soon, but I'll stop in for a minute. Thanks, everybody, again. Peace, and be wild.
Okay. And you guys in the chat here, hang on. Thank you to my audience. We'll see you later. And hey,